Welcome to Mindful Maven. This is a podcast for entrepreneurial millennials who want a bit of inspiration, reflection, and opportunities for growth. I'm your mindful host, Megan. I'm a business coach, advisor, lifestyle designer, and your biggest cheerleader. You can find me across socials at Mindful Maven, that's MAEVEN, or visit mindfulmaven.com for more content like this. Just in case you don't know, here is a definition that I found on Google. The so-called September surge isn't anything new in the recruitment sector. The term has been used in corporate America for years to describe the increase in job hunting and job vacancies posted between Labor Day, the first Monday in September, and Halloween. Cool. I've been hearing about the September surge all summer, basically. And again, I don't really know why I get a lot of job hunting content. Probably because I entertain it. It is really interesting to me. Well, whatever. Either way, I've been hearing about this all summer, and I've seen people even on TikTok who have been selling like resume makeovers and all these different things throughout the summer just to get people ready for the September surge, right? Now, I have no advice to give you about the September surge. I have no context, really. I haven't applied for a job since 2019, but I used to be a beast at applying for, not just applying, getting the best jobs. Like that is by far a strong part of my reputation when I had a job or was having all the jobs, because I used to have 3 at once. I don't even know how I did that. Actually, though, side note, because I said this to Candace, shout out to Candace. I was like, yeah, I used to have 3 jobs and now I have 1. And she's like, no, you don't. You have like 20, which is so true. I'm a marketer. I'm a writer. I'm a content creator. I'm a copywriter. It's so many things, right? When you are self-employed. But that's the fun part. You never get bored. So all that to say, I have not applied for a job since 2019, but I used to be a beast at finding all of the best jobs. So today I'm sharing 3 techniques that have worked well for me in the past. And then for each technique, I'll give you a success story. So let's dive right in. Number 1, fire interview questions. So you know at the end of the interview when they say, hey, do you have any questions for us? A lot of people, I think, use that time to say things like, I don't know, how long have you been at the company? What do you like about your role? What do you not like? Meanwhile, they're going to lie to you anyway. I use that time to ask fun questions or just creative questions because it's me. And I think that the interview questions is a time to show off that you are just a regular person. But also for me, it's a chance to make things light and treat the other person like they are a human, which they are. They're not a robot. So I had a job with this company called WeRoam. I've talked about it before. Wow, I am caffeinated because I'm stuttering so much. I'm just so excited. So I had this job with a company called WeRoam, and I was a trip leader. It was my dream job at the time. Like it was everything I could have ever wanted in a job. And at the end of the interview, when it was my time to ask questions, I asked him my go-to question actually, which is, if you could have anyone in this role, dead or alive, who would it be and why? And when I got the offer to get for that job, he mentioned that question. And he said that it really helped me stand out. And it was just something that was on his mind like for the rest of the week. It was the best interview question that he's ever been asked. And so, yeah, by being myself, it was a great way to stand out. The moral of that story for me is to treat the interviewer, even though he was the owner of the company, I treated him like a human instead of a robot. That'll get you really far. Number 2 is I had this email template. I'll actually read it to you. I had this email template and I would use it to apply to jobs, like a cold pitch for a job. So when I was a digital nomad, I really didn't know where I was going to be at any given moment of my life, which is so crazy to think about. I used to try to like plan travels with people and they would say, okay, well, what if we did, Paris in October? And I would say, that sounds cool, but like, let's wait and see where I'll be in October, like closer to that side of life, which is so wild. So what I would do is I would find yoga studios all around the world and look for ones that I wanted to work at. And I would pitch myself to them. And my title was like, I would always say your next, whatever the thing was. So your next front desk associate, your next operations manager, whatever. And most of the time I was just pitching, like I was just creating these roles and just pitching myself. And I actually found one because I was prepping for this podcast, and it was for CrossFit Providence. I had a stint in Providence before. I live in Providence now, if you don't know. And I lived here 2019 to 2020, and it was the worst year of my fucking life, so I just pretend that it didn't happen. But when I lived here, I managed a CrossFit gym, and I found the email that I sent. So let me read it to you, and then I'll tell you the story behind it. So I said, "Hi there, I'm Megan, both a newbie to Providence and an OG. I left at the age of 18 after a few years of backpacking across the world with my yoga mat and MacBook Pro. I've signed my first American lease in 5 years. Now that I'm back in Providence and here to stay, LOL, no, I was not. I'm looking for my community. No matter where I live, having a strong fitness fam is imperative to my success in the gym. I've heard rave reviews about CrossFit Providence and decided to take the leap and apply to work as a front desk team member at what will hopefully be my new fitness HQ. I have over a decade of customer service experience. I've managed yoga studios from Washington, D.C. to Koh Phangan, Thailand, and I'm an operations ninja. I'm never not wearing a smile. I can handle even the most difficult of customers, and I'm the epitome of a team player. I win, we win. I'd love to discuss this role further with you. I've attached my resume for your review, and I hope to hear from you soon. All the best, Megan." And the title was Your Next Front Desk Associate at CrossFit Providence. I mean, there are so many things I could dissect about why this is such a fire email, but I'm not even going to get into that right now. But you can please use it. I rewind this. I gave you the whole template. It has worked. It has gotten me jobs all around the world. And fun fact about that job, I didn't know if they were hiring. Again, these were all cold pitches. Like, I was just looking for gyms that resonated with me and applying to them. Turns out they were hiring for this exact role. I think it was a managerial role that I eventually got, actually. But they were hiring for this role. They had just turned off the applications like the day before. I had no idea. And he said there were over 400 people who applied for this role. And I ended up getting the job. And I got an interview like that same day or the next day. And he said specifically it was because my email was so clean. My resume was dope. But for me, the moral of that story is to be audacious. Don't wait for permission to apply. And feel free to create jobs for yourself. Like, identify an opportunity, identify a need, and then make yourself the solution. Like, make yourself the solution. Explain why you're a vibe. Like, I so succinctly in that email highlighted my personality, highlighted my expertise. I highlighted that I'm adventurous, that I'm adaptable through my travels. I'm wearing a smile, so I'm amiable. I have great customer service skills. I mentioned dealing with difficult customers, and all of those things are true. And then by the time my interview came, it was just time to expand upon everything that I highlighted in that email. So please feel free to use it as you wish. Third one, my resume design. Fun fact, if you didn't know, my first my first, what do you call that? It begins with an A. I don't know. My first business was called Resumaze, obviously spelled RESUMAES. Resumes. And I designed resumes for people for a living. It's like my first side business. It was so dope. I quickly learned after like less than a year that I could not do that long term, and I was so bored. It became painful. And so now people have learned, like, don't even ask me. Some of my loved ones still will, and I'll do them obviously, but oh my God. Whew, can't do it. But before I did. And so I was inspired to create this resume design business because my personal resumes have always been so fire. I'm going to link to one actually in the comments that I designed for Genius. I applied to work for Genius in New York, and I used their signature, lyrics page as inspo, and my resume matches oh my God, it matches their website. It was just so well done. Fuck them for not hiring me. Just kidding. It brought me to something better for me. But I always design great resumes for myself. So people started asking me like, yo, can you just, design them for me? So I created a business out of it. And something that works so well for me with my personal resumes, and something I still do, is I make them very personal. I do such a great job at highlighting my professional expertise while also showing off my personality, whether that be through the colors that I use. I always, like, when I would design resumes, I would always ask people what colors represent you, not just like what the brand is or a signature black and white type of shit because that's the standard or whatever. It's like, no, we can always have an accent color, and also you can use color strategically to bring attention to the things that you want to highlight. And so in my resume, in one of my resumes, I think I cussed lightly. And again, by cussing, I think I said shit or something like that. And even though that's so light, that very much so could and probably did turn off a lot of people. Perfect. Have you heard how much I cuss? Can you imagine me trying to work somewhere and not cuss? I don't have time for that type of shit. So by cussing on my resume, it was perfect because it got rid of everyone who was a prude. And then the people who were my people, they actually mentioned it and were like, yo, I love this. So it makes it, by the more you can be you, the more authentic you are, it makes it easier to find your people and thus hopefully a work environment that better suits you. Another thing that I do is I add fun facts on all of my resumes. Same with my clients. I would always add fun facts. And I remember I had a client who pushed back on this and she was like, no, like, because the fun facts were always personal things. I didn't make them work related, right? I wanted to like basically humanize the candidate. And a lot of people pushed back on it. And one candidate member, she pushed back on it. We added it because like some job came up. It was posted that she really wanted. And she added her Harry Potter house. Like I think it was Gryffindor. I don't know. That's not my world. But basically she added her Harry Potter house. I remember we were on a call together. She hung up. She submitted it for the job. She got an email back in 10 minutes because the woman was in the same Harry Potter house. And then they scheduled an interview. And so I don't know if this has changed. I personally would keep the same approach. I know that now people use a lot of like, what is it? Applicant tracking. It's an ATV. That's probably not ATV, ATS, applicant tracking system. I don't know, whatever. So I know a lot of like AI reads resumes now and all that type of thing. But for me, I just approach resumes from the perspective that whoever is reading this ultimately is a human. And so let me make this an enjoyable experience for them. Can you imagine how many boring ass resumes people have? And to have some fun facts that like highlight you as a person, come on, it helps you stand out so easily. Another thing I have on my resume, or at least on my old one, I'm a lady in the streets and a freak in the spreadsheets. Shout out to Claire Dunphy. This is so me, lady in the streets, freak in the spreadsheets. There is no more Megan statement. And so this is, again, these are just little ways that you can stand out. And so the moral of this story is the things that make you you, that's the sell. It's not what you can do. I mean, you can really, we all feel cool. We're so multi-talented, as I am. Like, oh my God, it's so hard being me. You know, I am a multi-talented individual, but there are a lot of multi-talented people in the world that can do exactly what I do, or maybe even more, you know, maybe even quote unquote better, but there's no one that is me. There's no other Megan to do those things. You feel me? And so instead of focusing, yes, cool, sell your talents and your skill set, blah, blah, blah. But especially if you are, you know, if you're a vibe, if you have a great energy, like sell that. That's what people need. That's what people want as well from their coworkers. Lastly, as a bonus, because you know I always have a bonus, something that worked so well for me. Actually, this worked for WeRoam, because the WeRoam job that I mentioned as a trip leader, at least like 15 people sent me that job listing. And then it got to the point, I'm like, okay, guys, like I'm going to apply, because it was just coming from every direction, like family, just people from all around the world that I had met during my travels were sending me this job application. They're like, this is perfect for you. This is perfect for you. And so I applied. And that would not have happened if I did not put myself out there and tell people that I was looking for a job. There's great power in moving in silence. Absolutely. But there's also being loud strategically. And I'm a big fan of being loud with strategy. And so even, for example, like I mentioned in the last episode of Mindful Maven, that when I said when I decided to look for a job or something, like not even a job, like a gig, or, you know, I don't know what that thing will be, but you know what I mean. I told my email list and I told Instagram stories. And since then, people continue to send me listings that they think of when they think of me. And so put yourself out there, you know, let people know that you're a vibe. Let them know how talented you are, not just later when you're looking for a job, but maybe what if you start now? What if you show more of your personality in your Instagram stories or in your tweets? What if you talk more about your talents and your successes and your accomplishments? Not necessarily your goals, because I'm big on, I like to stay silent with my goals and share my progress. But like, yeah, let people know what you're dope at, so that when opportunities arise, in our lives, shout out to Usher, when things come up, people will think about you and they won't hesitate to reach out to you, because they're like, oh, for years, you know, Lisa's been talking about this on her Instagram story. She's actually perfect for this. They can't find you if you don't put yourself out there. So yeah, to recap, my 3 tips plus 1 for a job hunt. You know what? Because I'm like, this is not for a job hunt. Something just doesn't feel right. These are all tips for attracting opportunities that align with you. That's why this is not a job hunt. This is for job attraction. So if you know anyone who is in the midst of attracting their ideal opportunities, either right now or later, please share this with them. To summarize, 1, having fire interview questions ready and treating the interviewer like a human instead of a robot. 2, cold pitches. Have a quick, clean, concise email pitch ready. And be audacious. Don't wait for permission to apply. Don't wait for job listings. Create the opportunity for yourself and put yourself out there. 3, a clean, strategic resume design, highlighting your personality as well as your skill set. And most importantly, highlighting you. You are the sell, not just what you can do. You are the vibe. And then lastly, as a bonus, let people know that you're looking. Let them know what you're looking for. Let them know your talents, your accomplishments, not just now. Not just now if you're in the midst of a job search. Like, do that all the time. Tell people how great you are at the things that you're great at. And they'll enjoy, if they're real ones, they will enjoy hearing it. I love hearing people talk about their accomplishments and their successes, but that's because I'm confident, secure in myself, and not everyone be that way. So I feel you, but don't let them scare you off. Fuck those people. So yeah, those are my tips on how to attract your ideal employment opportunities. As a reminder, please follow this podcast, rate it, and if you know someone who's in the midst of attracting their ideal opportunities, share this with them. Until the next time, stay kind.